Good afternoon, friends. It is Wednesday, June 8th, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll wait another 60 seconds for other friends to file in. Let me know where you're tuning in from. We're going to look at the broader market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sand, Binance. What else? A bunch of alts. Sol and Sand are two that I'm keeping a close eye on. Nashville, Tennessee. I've been scouting some land outside Chattanooga. Waiting a little bit to see how that housing market goes. Appreciate the likes and subscribes and all that good stuff. Let's get going. Shrink the face. Before we get into it, free ebook, forgot to mention it in the last live stream. How to establish a risk-free trade. This is a trading style that I am all about these days, and it changed after leveling up in 2017 crypto. Once I had a larger stack that I was playing with, more capital, and I was more of a short-term scalp-style trader, going partial positions and getting risk-free and then letting the trade try and play out on a longer-term time frame is definitely a style that I really like. And it's more in line with conservative, right? Because I stop out plenty of times with tiny wins, break even, or tiny losses, but being conservative, I'm preventing from that solid red day, whereas if I'm looking to be aggressive and if I'm looking to level up my account in a bullish market environment, I'm willing to risk a red loss to allow for possible more significant reward, meaning I would want to keep my whole position for a significant move as opposed to selling half really quickly. So it definitely has to do with the conservative style and conservative mindset, but free ebook. I'll post it in the description of this video as well. Just put it in the chat in YouTube live stream, and it will help go over this trading style. So on to the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ today it just rolled over bearish, and we had a scenario where we started the morning strong, and we started with the NASDAQ and tech and growth names having the ideal start to their morning. But we were looking around at other places in the market and recognizing this is not ideal, because QQQ broke its high of yesterday. IWM, XLF, XLV, these are all the major sectors in the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 itself, all rejected from the high of yesterday. So if only one of our major sectors is breaking bull, and again, it's the analogy of just the bulls are running and they look over their shoulder and none of their friends are joining. And so the NASDAQ held on as long as it could, put up a good fight. Nice little 15-minute tightening range, and then it rolled over. Couldn't keep up. You know, it was all up to the NASDAQ bulls. They had no help from anybody else, and they couldn't keep it up. And so now we have a little 5-minute inverse head and shoulders attempt on this bounce. We'll see if bulls are able to pull off a trend change here. If they do, we'll just zoom out and scout an hourly lower high. Bottom line is we're range bound, and we're remaining range bound. And here on the daily time frame, bulls played defense yesterday, but they're not going on offense. They're remaining range bound. So we've been within this range for 8 days now. And it's very unlikely to change today. It might not even change tomorrow. We might have to wait for CPI numbers. We know that the market is all about inflation these days as far as a fundamental perspective. We're also keeping a close eye on the dollar. Let's go to the S&P 500 first. Again, same deal, just range bound. Look at this 4-hour resistance. As far as clarity is concerned, you can switch from the NASDAQ and watch SPX 500 USD here, and make note that if we do not get over this 4-hour downtrend resistance line, bulls aren't going anywhere. So this is, for clarity's sake, this is a nice guide for the rest of the week. And if we don't break this week, then we know we'll break very early next week, first thing. So, of course, we want to be watching what the broader market is doing because of its impact on Bitcoin. The dollar needs to see a bear break. We're in a 4-hour tightening range. High, low, lower high, higher low. If it breaks bear, there's the possible first indication of a weekly lower high. And as I keep pointing out, we've been in a weekly uptrend the entirety of the year. The character of this chart has to change, and to do so, we have to confirm a weekly downtrend. We must break 101.29. If that happens, it will be very notable. If it doesn't happen, it will be notable as well, because we will have less confidence. Again, we can go through the market and just look at all these little different clues, and we can just make a tally. This is favoring the bulls, this is favoring the bears, and see who has more tallies to see which way we're leaning. And this is a tally in the market bear column as long as we're in a weekly uptrend for the dollar. So we're watching the dollar and the broader markets. Bitcoin has been seeing some wild volatility, and this shows me a lack of liquidity. So what do I mean by that? Look at yesterday's action, and this is on Coinbase, and it can be exchange specific, but we're seeing it in a lot of places where we're just shooting up, and then within a 10-minute window, we drop 3% and then bounce 4% the next 10 minutes. We were seeing that in 2017. This was the norm in 2017. You would see that happen often, and it was very normal because there was a lack of liquidity. And what you would have is a bunch of traders like myself using market orders and not having, big people, big whales on the bid and the ask. The way that market makers trade in the stock market world, they have a big stash of shares, and they are buying on the bid and selling on the ask, and they're just trying to eke out the little in between and rack that up over a long period of time for a significant amount of money eventually. And so you have that in the crypto space as well. And back then you had way less of that as there was much less liquidity. And now you have a lot more of that as there is much more liquidity. Meaning, if I market sell 20 Bitcoin, it's going to get absorbed fairly quickly. And then the arbitrage bots are going to kick in, and it's going to bounce right back up. And there's going to be a little bit of a lower wick, but it's going to stay in line with other exchanges. And back in 2017, you market sell 20 and your slippage is going to be way more significant. So we are seeing that lack of liquidity environment again with the current range that we are trading within. And Bitcoin right now is just in a 4-hour tightening range where we shot up, we dumped down, we V-shaped bounce, we dumped down. We're just tightening up sideways. Essentially, we're just waiting. All right, give us a direction here, broader market. We know that the broader market has been trading sideways, like I said, for how many days did I say? 8, 3, 6, 8 days. So Bitcoin's just waiting for the broader market here, and we've been fairly sideways for the last 8 days as well. We are watching our BTC USD divided by NASDAQ chart to show us relative strength and relative weakness. This is going to break when the broader market breaks its sideways range and when Bitcoin breaks its sideways range. The ideal scenario for the crypto bulls, obviously, would be broader market bull break, Bitcoin bull break, and this chart breaking bull as well, because that would show us everything's breaking bull, but Bitcoin is outperforming. So all these tightening charts are going to break soon. And again, if it's not this week, we're going to be looking for it probably, when futures open Sunday night potentially. But we still got 2 full trading days to go. Next couple days. Do we have a holiday? Not this coming Monday. We have a holiday. We do. We have a holiday this Monday in the US. No trading on June 13th. I think. I need to double check that. Juneteenth is the new holiday. Stock market holidays. June 20th. Okay, so an extra week. 2 weeks. Take that back. So, just a regular weekend. Tightening ranges are going to break. We know when they break, we're going to get volatility. We're going to get volume. And hopefully we get follow through as far as having some nice signals to be going off of. If it's a bear break, our weekly lower highs are set, and Bitcoin is absolutely a possible weekly bear flag. If we get a bull break, we're going to be running right into weekly EMA 12 resistance, but it will be a little bit less likely that it's a weekly bear flag. We know that the burden is on bulls because bears are still very comfy on this weekly time frame. And on the daily chart, if I'm a bear in a swing trade position, I'm not covering unless these resistance break. Dominance chart, still going up overall. A little bit of a pullback, but nothing notable. And again, it's going up in both scenarios. It's going up when crypto goes up as Bitcoin leads the way up. And it's going up when crypto drops as altcoins are leading the way down. And as long as daily EMA 12 is support here, I'm going to say nothing's changing. And that has been the case for over a month. So let's look at Ethereum. So Ethereum is doing something very similar to Bitcoin. It's just a bit weaker. So same 4-hour sideways range that is likely to break, at least this range, the 4-hour range is likely to break before the weekend. Whether or not the daily ranges break remains to be seen. We know it's all about 1700 as a very key support level in the short term. We know there's a lot of stops there. And that's the kind of setup where shorts are going to pile in on a break at 1700, even if it's just for a scalp. Short at on the break of 1700 and then cover down at 1655 for a little quick win. Whatever it is, we know there's going to be follow through because there are stops based on 1700. There's no doubt about that. So that is a key short-term level, and the daily lower highs are very clear as well. We've been setting daily lower highs for months at this point, or at least a month. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. And if the daily lower highs don't break, then absolutely nothing changes. And the bears remain in their positions and remain extremely comfortable. NASDAQ's getting a little bit of bounce follow through here. No, not much. Just curious to see how we're correlating. I can see right now, just that quick look. Bitcoin has a bearish correlation on the 5-minute time frame to QQQ. So just keeping an eye on that relationship as well. So ETH BTC is a potential falling wedge on the 12-hour time frame. We've been watching this for a few days now. And if we see a bull break of these sideways daily ranges, and if alts lead the way in terms of seeing bigger percentage follow through, we would be looking for this pattern to break bull. And if this pattern were to break bull, we would then zoom out and scout a weekly lower high to be the result of this bounce. But I do like the clarity on this 12-hour. And again, this is going to break within a few days. We can't get much tighter than this. They are 12-hour candles, so they take a while to form. But 3 days from now, we're going to be running out of space. But still clear 12-hour lower highs that must break if anything is going to change. So as far as the altcoins that I personally am interested in, we were talking about last video, Binance. Last live stream, what's today? Wednesday. So Monday, we were talking about the sideways daily range on Binance. And then we started seeing relative weakness, and then we get the headline. You'll see that often. People are always in the know, and you will often see relative weakness, and then a news headline will come out, and then you'll look back in hindsight and say, oh, well, that makes sense. And that was the case for Binance, where we set the daily lower high here, and we dropped down and broke 290. 290 and 293 breaking was the clear bear break. But it was the BNB BTC chart that was showing a significant amount of weakness as well. And it was very interesting that, Binance, I looked at Binance that morning or whenever it was and said, okay, we broke our sideways range. And then someone posted the headline, Binance being investigated for their token, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 hours later, that news headline was starting to be posted in our stock chat room with the chart guys. And so we already knew about it in the crypto chat room. And so when we see it started being posted in the stock chat room, that tells us that it's hitting broader news channels. It's reaching more eyes. And that's when Bitcoin dumped in response. And it was a 3-hour delay from when the headline was first officially known. It's almost like the news came out and everybody that's focused on Binance and focused on crypto saw it and reacted to it. And then as it reached a broader audience, that's when Bitcoin significantly reacted to it. So it was interesting to see how that headline impacted things. But with where we stand, all things considered, it wasn't a huge dump for Binance. Yes, it definitely helped magnify a drop, but nothing massive. I'd be scouting a 12-hour lower high on Binance right now because anything under 312 is just a 12-hour lower high. We do have this cloud of bearish sentiment overhanging it. And as long as BNB BTC is in a 12-hour downtrend, it's going to remain relatively weak. Again, every single bounce is a 12-hour lower high. As long as that remains the case, it's in full control of the bears. So if I'm a bear, I'm keeping an eye out for a bearish entry on Binance for lower highs to be the result of this bounce. Sand is another name that I'm interested in because it's nice and tight and sideways. Look at this 12-hour range. This is going to break very soon. So that's what it looks like on the 12-hour. And on the daily, if we do horizontal lines, it's all about 125 in the short term and 152, but the first resistance is 140. So I grabbed a starter position today, and it's the kind of thing where I made a post a week ago before last weekend and said, I'm interested in bottom fishing sand 125 next time we test it. And then I just wasn't trading over the weekend, so I missed the ideal entry. I could have entered it 126, 127, had a couple pennies of wiggle room, and had a really nice bottom fishing play. I could have sold half at 135 and then been risk-free. But wasn't trading. That's the way it goes. Life happens. So then we have a second chance. So now I made an entry right around 131, stop under 125, just a low-risk attempt where if sideways ranges break bull, this is nice risk-reward where my risk is going to be 7 cents, we'll call it, and my potential reward if we get a bull break is going to be ideally 3 times that. I'll be looking up towards potentially the 150s resistance. So just a little position. It's the kind of thing where, I haven't really been trading crypto actively much at all recently. And so if I have been actively trading and stumbling in this sideways action, stop trading. If that's you, stop trading and wait for a better market environment. And again, that's why I keep encouraging people to branch out because there's better market environments out there. Yes, the broader market is range bound on the daily, but you can always find something in the stock market. Look at Baba. There's always something in the stock market that's going to fit your trading style. Uranium names. There's plenty. GME, if you want that kind of volatility. So that's where I go when there's a choppy sideways range. I go to the more clear setups, which are often in the stock market world. If you're sitting on the sidelines a lot during the sideways choppy range, then you can every now and again wait for a setup, and it's not an ideal setup. I don't have high conviction that this is going to break bull, but again, the risk and reward is good enough for me to give it an attempt. Sand BTC, just as a look, we would need to see Sand BTC set a weekly higher low compared to the low that we just came from if we were going to see that daily range break bull on the USDT pairing with any kind of follow through. Other than that, let's see, I was watching a theta uptrending resistance line. Looks like we pulled back just under it, multiple 4-hour inside bars. If they break bear, we'll keep an eye on this support line. I really like that resistance line. Nice and clear. If we can't get over that resistance line, bulls aren't going anywhere. So we'll look for a 4-hour higher low to be the result of next consolidation. Clear lead bull on the day. ADA is also looking good. Daily uptrend remains intact, just climbing our way back up to that 6.9 recent resistance. FTT has been a lead bear, so even though it's standing out today, still has a lot of work to do. OMG tightening up, so lots of tightening ranges. We know that's the most common scenario. All right, that's all I want to talk about. I'm reading the chat room now. We're going to stick to crypto. Ace is looking for a higher low compared to 2.7 on the weekly. And I'm just viewing this as a weekly equilibrium. High, low, lower high. Bulls must shape up a daily trend change back in their favor, holding 27 if we are to shape up a weekly higher low. And right now we are in a very clear daily and 4-hour downtrend, so we're not close to setting a weekly higher low. We would need a big enough daily bounce to create the space to shape up a trend change if a weekly higher low is going to be, if we're going to set a weekly higher low. And KLA, I actually traded it today, but no, we're not looking at stocks. This is a crypto live stream. Do I wear baseball caps? No, I used to wear an Irish cap that was my grandfather's. I wore it until it fell apart, and I haven't worn a hat since because everything else I try, it's just not the same. AVAX. So I can see AVAX, BTC, clear daily lower high pattern, tightening range, have to break the lower highs if anything is going to change. Same thing with the USDT pairing, just lower highs, tightening equilibrium, break imminent, yada yada, you know the deal. If we do not break the daily lower highs, bears have absolutely zero reason to cover whatsoever. Algo, little bit of a shift, a daily uptrend on the BTC pairing. US dollar pairing has not broken bull yet. Good sign that the BTC pairing is leading the way. Now the US dollar pairing must break 43 to follow along. We have a bit of a double top here. A lot of tops. Have to break that bull to get the weekly bounce going. Just sideways, but closer to testing resistance than a lot of other individual names. Welcome, Grapple. Thanks for joining. Sol, forgot about Sol. So Sol, I'm interested in this falling wedge, but not yet in terms of me looking for an entry. And because I grabbed some sand, I'd probably wait and need some bull momentum. We have multiple 12-hour inside bars. If they break bear, we're going to head right back down towards 3571 and this potential falling wedge support. So this is the kind of setup where, if I already have some exposure, so if I were to have any more, I would need some bull momentum. So I'm going to patiently watch Sol. But again, every single move is just setting a daily lower high. That has to change. A break of 44.87 or nothing changes. COTI. Nice uptrend on the daily. Strong move the last 2 days. Testing 14.5 resistance. That's a double top as far as I'm concerned at the moment. Must hold 11.28. And have to break. I'm just viewing this as a high, low, lower high, higher low, double top. Must break 14.5. And follow through over 16 as well. If we're going to call it follow through, short-term support is 13, the 4-hour higher low. So battling resistance right now and initially rejecting. But again, just the fact that we're in a daily, we have a daily higher low and we're testing resistance shows us it's a little bit stronger than many other names. Ape has been dead, just slow bleeding. 579 being tested. If 579 breaks, it's just 517. Daily EMA 12 has been resistance for 2 months. If daily EMA 12 is resistance, bears have full control, nothing changes. This was a very brief hype coin. And when you're in this kind of market environment, speaking about crypto in general, if you're the new kid on the block and you had a little pump and you have no price history, it's really hard to get attention. If people are not confident about buying Bitcoin, they're not going to be confident about buying Ape. So it's just that much harder to get attention. If you're running with no price history and you've got this attention from some nice flashy gains, that's one thing. But then once you lose that, you can just putter out and slow bleed for a very long time. You've certainly seen that in plenty of alts before. And that happens in the stock market world. Look at this Look at these 3D printing stocks back in 2013 and 14. This name, DDD, went from $1 to $97. You thought crypto just did these moves? Stocks do these moves. So what's that? 9,000%. And then look at this drop. This forever bleed. Just give back 90% of it. 95% of it. So my point is, euphoria, attention, hype. Top is hit. Slow bleed. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So you have to be cautious not to get stuck in the nobody cares cycle of a downtrend. If you're bearish, you love it. Link stood out the other day for the first time in a very long time. So Link is positioned well if the crypto space breaks bull. 4-hour high or low at 823 is a key short-term support level. If we lose that level, we confirm a 4-hour downtrend and lose some short-term momentum. There is a rising wedge that we can be keeping an eye on. Nah, not a good one. I take that back. So 4-hour uptrend is key. Aggressive bears are top fishing $9, hoping for a 4-hour lower high. But again, if we see the crypto space break bull, BTC pairing is showing us a little bit of relative strength. It's already testing resistance. Weekly bounce clearly underway. And again, how many charts did I just pull up that looked like this? Maybe 2 or 3. But a lot of alts look that way. Sol looks like this. And so every altcoin that has a chart that looks like this is looking at Link and saying, man, I hope our chart does that, and follows through with the bull break. So this is just one little individual name benefiting from that bull break, while most others in the crypto space look like this still. So it's a little bit of a roadmap. You know, you can look at this and say, okay, this is what we have to see if we're going to break bull on these other names as well. So Link trying to have a bit of a head start. But if everybody's going to do it, we have to see Bitcoin lead the way. Oh boy. Near. So near is still weak. Daily lower highs on the BTC pairing the whole way down. Nothing is going to change if the daily lower highs continue. Same with the US dollar pairing. New lower high, 577. If 577 is resistance, nothing changes. We can bounce 10% from where we are in this moment and still be in a daily downtrend. As far as support, we've got 505 and then 467. That's it. And again, if I am a bear, if you're a bull and you're looking bullish on this chart, take off your bull glasses, put on your bear glasses. Pretend you're a bear right now. Do you have anything to worry about? The answer is no. You're going to hold your position unless something changes. Did Sol, not looking at Apple. Do long-term moving averages give credibility to my TA style? They do not. Doesn't mean don't use them. It just means I don't care about, I care more about price action and trends on a daily time frame than I do about a weekly EMA, or a weekly moving average, I should say. And it could be the kind of thing where, if I have a position and I don't, have a target, if I've been shorting here and I don't have a long-term target, then maybe I look at a moving average that has seen support hold the last 3 times it's been tested. And maybe I look to have that as a target to lock in some short profits. Then that absolutely makes sense. But for me and my trading style, knowing that I'm generally not looking that long-term, those moving averages don't factor into my trading much at all. FTM, BTC, slow bleed, have to hold the lows. Same thing, US dollar pairing, lower high at 43, new lower high at 387. We're testing 336 support. Have to break the daily lower highs. You're gonna hear me say the same thing because so many of these altcoins are in the same setups. If we do not break daily lower highs, bears keep absolute complete control. Mana is doing similar things to Sand. Mana BTC just sideways, nothing changing for 2 weeks. Mana USD sideways. So viewing it as a low at 90, a high at 113, a little higher low at 93, resistance 106. So we're just tightening up. 2 supports, 2 resistances over the last week and a half plus. Just waiting for one of those levels to break. Otherwise, we're range bound and choppy. Shorter term time frames, if your daily is going sideways for 2 weeks, your 4-hour time frames can get really choppy and unclear. So just be aware of that. It gets to a point when we get really tight where I just zoom out and say, these are the only levels that I care about. And anything else that's happening within those levels is just noise. Subsector, musical chair, liquidity rotation, that's a bull environment kind of thing. You know, that's when you're looking around and saying, all right, profits, I'm taking these profits over here and I'm going to go over to this sector now. So we generally don't see that in a bearish market environment because there's not a whole bunch of profits and confidence flying around. What time frames are my most used determining my trend? I start with the weekly, then the daily, then the 4-hour. And every morning, I don't need to look at the weekly every day because I know what it looks like. But I'll start every day looking at the daily and the 4-hour every morning. And then if I need any more details, I'll play around. Sometimes the 12-hour is more clear than the 4-hour for me. But it's generally the daily and the 4-hour. Irish passport? I don't think so. I think my great-grandparents were officially from Ireland. My grandparents were born in the States. TRX. Definitely one of the most bullish coins, but we got a double top. And we are on the verge of weekly consolidation. After that double top, this is a very important level to hold. If we break 7.6, we confirm a daily downtrend, and we confirm weekly consolidation after a double top rejection. Trying to hold uptrend support. I'd be keeping an eye on that. EGLD. Yeah, it is in the depths of despair. 53 is key. Lose 53 and there's just nothing nearby. A lot of these coins, I mean, you've heard this so many times, but a lot of these coins are going to disappear into nothing. I mean, if you're looking a decade into the future, how many stocks over the last decade puttered out into nothing? The answer is a lot. Am I more bullish or bearish? I will always have a lean with the trend until the opposing side proves something to me. So I will have a bear lean that I will shift instantly if we break daily lower highs. But until we do, the trend favors the bears. And you can position, again, I don't have high conviction that sand is going to break bull, but the risk and reward is good enough for me to establish that position. I don't use vector candles. I trade stocks on Fidelity. Do I have any idea about CPI numbers? Absolutely not. If I were to come on here and tell you, influencers that couldn't possibly know something but talk as if they do, that's such a huge red flag. How could I possibly know, unless I'm putting in dozens of hours studying fundamentals and looking at aspects that the broader market is not, I have zero edge whatsoever. I'm just wildly guessing. There are people that will just wildly guess, but they will paint it as if it's an educated opinion. Beware of that. You might as well flip a coin to be as valid an opinion about what the CPI numbers will give as what my opinion is. And anything other than that, I am kidding myself thinking that I have some kind of edge. Well, I read an article, and that article author thought CPI was going to come in lower, so I'm going to latch on to that narrative, and I'm going to speak as if that's an educated opinion. Fundamentals, it's CPI, Friday CPI. That's the one we're watching in the short term. As far as FOMC, I mean, we pretty much know we're looking at a 0.5 hike coming up the next couple FOMC meetings. So we'll be looking for language, talking about the future meetings to give some potential indication, but not expecting there to be major catalysts. Wow, couldn't shape up the 5-minute trend change. Rejecting from resistance. Broke resistance with zero follow through. Right back to the low of the day. And Bitcoin. We saw Bitcoin with relative weakness comparative to QQQ. And as QQQ is back to testing the low of the day, Bitcoin's relative weakness is leading to it rolling over. You could see that weakness 20 minutes ago. Choppy action recently. Look at the NASDAQ. We've been going green, red, green, red. All right, I'm about to wrap it up. I don't know anything about the UNFI pump. I very often market buy my positions, much less so in crypto. In the stock world, it's free. That's why I love stock trading more than crypto trading. I can take the exact, if I traded how I traded stocks, how I trade stocks, I market buy and sell all the time because I'm trading very liquid instruments. If I did today's action, how I have traded stocks today, if I did that in crypto, I would pay $10,000 in fees. So my trading style is fast moves and market buys and sells. And so that style is very not good for crypto and the fees schedule and how they do it. And there are places where I could definitely trade less fees, but you can't beat zero. All right, I appreciate you all tuning in. Bears have control in the short term. Something has to change. If that's going to change, we're testing Bitcoin support right now. Short term, 29.8. After 29.8, it's 29.2. The frogs are pumped. It's starting to rain. Do good things. And we'll see you soon.